Welcome to Starwatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Have you ever wondered what defines a star beyond the spotlight? Not the applause, not the fame, but the hidden choices, the unseen moments that reveal true character. Tonight on Starwatch Now, we uncover a story where a simple hand tattoo became the silent witness to a life of grit, kindness, and extraordinary discipline. It is often said that true character is revealed in the moments when no one is watching. For Wang Yibo, one of Asia's most recognized stars, that moment arrived not on a brightly lit stage or in front of cameras, but on a rain-soaked night in Zhengzhou when a devastating flood struck the city. The streets were drowning under the relentless storm, and rescue workers in orange uniforms moved tirelessly through the chaos. Among them was a figure almost invisible in the crowd, his head bent, his hands carrying crates of bottled water through the rising waters. Nobody knew who he was. He blended into the rhythm of volunteers, until a small but unmistakable detail gave him away: the tattoo on the back of his hand. For many fans, the discovery was shocking. The image of a global idol, a man known for music, film, and racing, was suddenly transformed into something profoundly human. Here was not the celebrity adored on magazine covers, but an individual willing to sacrifice comfort and anonymity for the sake of strangers. The tattoo, which might have been dismissed as a stylistic flourish under stage lights, became a silent witness to a story of compassion. It was not a prop, not a brand, but an accidental marker of authenticity. Without it, perhaps no one would have known that Wang Yibo had been there at all, carrying boxes for hours until his arm was cut and bleeding, refusing to stop. What resonates most is not simply that he helped, but how he chose to do it. In an era when so many public figures carefully orchestrate their acts of charity to maximize exposure, Wang Yibo's presence was unannounced, his efforts unpublicized. There was no official photographer to capture the moment, no press release to polish the narrative. His contribution might have remained forever hidden had it not been for that small trace of ink. That is why the incident feels so rare, almost cinematic. It reminds us that integrity is defined not by what is displayed but by what is done in silence. The tattoo revealed his identity, but the rain revealed his heart. And in that quiet collision between secrecy and exposure, a portrait of genuine character was drawn. One that continues to inspire long after the floodwaters receded. There is a kind of generosity that does not ask for recognition, the kind that lives quietly in the shadows, shaping lives without ever demanding applause. Wang Yibo's story is filled with such moments, where the true weight of his compassion lies not in headlines or staged photographs, but in the quiet consistency of his choices. For years, financial records revealed the arrival of anonymous donations, signed only with the simple name, Mr. Wang. Each year, without fail, 1 million yuan found its way to children in welfare institutions, to classrooms that lacked instruments, to hospitals struggling under pressure. The pattern was so steady, so deliberate, that it was impossible to dismiss as coincidence. And yet, there were no announcements, no reporters waiting with cameras, no press releases timed for promotion. It was a rhythm of giving that existed purely for its own sake. During the pandemic, when fear and uncertainty hung heavily in the air, another donation appeared, accompanied not by a speech but by a handwritten message: "Dear angels in white, please protect yourselves." The words were simple, almost fragile, but they carried the weight of care for those standing on the front line. Many celebrities at that moment were using their platforms to display acts of charity, their names prominently attached to every gesture. Wang Yibo chose instead to erase his own name, to let the action speak in silence. That decision changed the meaning of his generosity. It became less about what the world thought of him and more about what the act itself could do for others. What makes these moments resonate so deeply is not the scale of money given but the humility behind it. A child receiving a new set of instruments might never know whose hands made it possible, but they will remember the joy of playing music for the first time. A nurse opening a box of supplies may never connect it to a famous face, but she will remember that someone, somewhere, cared enough to lighten her burden. This is the essence of silent generosity, the willingness to give without expectation, to care without credit. And in that silence lies a truth stronger than any public performance, that the most powerful gestures are often the ones that go unseen, echoing quietly in the lives they change. Discipline is often spoken of as a requirement for success, but in the case of Wang Yibo, discipline feels less like an obligation and more like a way of life, the invisible thread holding together everything he has become. What the public sees, the flawless performances, the polished choreography, the seamless acting, are only fragments of a much larger story, one built on countless hours of repetition, sacrifice, and quiet resilience. Behind the glamour of lights and cameras lies a man who has chosen again and again to endure the unglamorous path of hard work. At the Winter Olympics, his role as torchbearer lasted only a few fleeting minutes in front of the world, yet he had rehearsed the handover 37 times in a cold waiting room, even requesting that his gloves be made just a fraction thinner so his grip could be perfect. It is a detail so small that most would overlook it, yet it reveals a mind unwilling to settle for good enough. The same determination followed him onto film sets. While others might have relied on stunt doubles, Wang Yibo insisted on experiencing the extremes of his roles himself, training in 40-degree heat while wearing 25 kilograms of tactical gear, exposing himself to real tear gas so that every movement on screen would carry truth. His body endured exhaustion, dehydration, and pain, but his will remained steady, anchored in the belief that authenticity demanded nothing less. These are not choices made for applause. They are choices born of an inner standard, a refusal to compromise the craft he has devoted his life to. Even in the quieter corners of his career, discipline guided him. Memorizing scripts at 3 in the morning, rehearsing lines until they felt instinctive, giving hours of personal tutoring to contestants on variety shows. Each act, invisible to the outside world, built the foundation of his artistry. Industry insiders often described him as a sponge, absorbing everything around him with relentless hunger. But they rarely spoke of the cost. The fatigue, the pressure, the solitude of chasing perfection while others rested. What remains clear is that for Wang Yibo, discipline is not about fame or recognition. It is about a deep commitment to honoring every opportunity, every performance, every responsibility. Fame may magnify the results, but it is discipline that shapes the man, quietly, relentlessly, beyond the gaze of the audience. What makes Wang Yibo different is not only discipline, but empathy. Before visiting a school for hearing-impaired children, he quietly studied basic sign language for weeks. When one child tugged at the corner of his shirt after class, unable to sleep from excitement, the school later received a full set of percussion instruments. No headlines, no hashtags, just joy delivered straight to the classroom. And here's a perspective not often shared. When those children use those instruments, they don't see a celebrity. They see someone who cared enough to listen to their silence. From a boy in Luoyang sneaking into dance competitions at age 11, to standing at the United Nations representing Chinese youth, his journey is not about fame but focus. Industry insiders call him a sponge for how much he absorbs. Yet they rarely mention what happens when a sponge is squeezed: pressure, sacrifice, and fatigue. Still, he never let the industry define him. Instead, he defined himself through actions, helping farmers sell their produce live on air, even buying 200 boxes at his own expense to donate to nursing homes. That is where the true meaning of celebrity shines: to celebrate humanity, not just oneself. A tattoo may have revealed his presence that rainy night, but his actions revealed something far greater: the resilience of discipline, the beauty of humility, and the courage to be kind without recognition. In an era where image often outweighs truth, stories like these remind us that authenticity still exists. Thank you for joining us here on Starwatch Now. If this story touched you, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring you more stories that inspire, uplift, and remind us of the humanity behind the fame. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep watching the stars with us.